Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this playlist of Linux Unix operating system. This is the first video of the playlist, and in this video I'm gonna cover the basic tutorial of Linux as an operating system. So let's go with this website Java Point. I will explain all the concepts present in this website because it is present in very strategic and in a very arranged manner. That's why I will cover the video with the help of this website. So first of all, Linux tutorial provides basic and advanced concept of Linux. Okay, our Linux tutorial is designed for beginners and professionals. It is for both beginners as well as professionals. It contains both the concepts. So basically, what is Linux? Linux is an open source operating system. It is an open source operating system. So whatever we want to do, we can do by making any changes present in the operating system. For example, we got an idea that this feature might be available in Linux. So we can create that project in our local computer, and then we can use GitHub or any other medium to make a successful contribution in making a good operating system like Linux. We can suggest more ideas for the improvement of this operating system. So it is an open source operating system. Okay, it is just like Windows, Mac, or Android. Unix is an operating system like Linux. So Unix is a commercial operating system. For using Unix, we have to pay some amount, but Linux is an open source, so we don't have to pay a single penny for using Linux as an operating system. Unix is a commercial operating system. It consists of three parts. First one is kernel, second one is shell, and the third one is programs. The uh, kernel is an interface which makes a connection between the web applications and the computer hardware. Shell and programs, most of the Unix and Linux commands are similar in nature. Most of the commands present in Unix and Linux are almost same. Some are different, which I will tell later in this course. Our Linux tutorial include all the topics of Linux OS such as Linux commands, directories, files, man pages, file contents, file permissions, shells, VI editor, etc. Okay, so let's go with what is Linux. Linux is an open source operating system like other operating systems such as Microsoft, Windows, Apple, Mac OS, iOS, Google Android, etc. Okay, an operating system is a software that enables the communication between computer hardware and software. What is an operating system? An operating system is just a interface or a software which enables the communication between the hardware and the software. It is acts as a interface which can be used by the user to access all the components of the computer, including the software as well as hardware. Okay, it just acts as an interface between the user and the computer hardware. It conveys input to get processed by the processor and brings output to the hardware to display it. So it gets the values and the input from the user and processes it and brings the output by the use of hardware. So it contains so operating system just acts as the interface between the user and the computer hardware. Okay, this is the basic function of an operating system. Although it performs many other important tasks, let's not talk about it because it will be very vast topic then. So let's stick to the main part. Linux is around us since the mid 90s. It can be used from wristwatches to supercomputers. Whatever devices we are using, it's all about operating system. Without operating system, nothing can be done. So operating system is present in all the devices which we are using currently. It is everywhere in our phones, laptops, PC, cars, and even in refrigerators. Because in refrigerators, we are now having digital refrigerators. By the help of some touch keypads and switches, we can communicate with our refrigerator or even with our tablet. So these all in these all areas, operating system plays a very vital role. That's why learning Linux as an operating system is very important. It is very much famous among developers and normal computer users. Okay, so this is the evolution of Linux operating system. This is not much important. We will stick to the application area mainly. So this is the structure of the operating system. The Linux operating system contains main four parts, that is system software, user processor, user utility, and compilers. Okay, The kernel, Linux kernel is the core part of the operating system. It established the communication between the devices and the software. It just acts as an interface between device and the software. It enables the communication. Moreover, it manages system resources. In spite of being as an mediator, acting as the interface to communicate between the devices and the software, it also helps in managing the system resources. The four main responsibilities of the kernel are device management, memory management, process management, and handling system calls. What is device management? Device management is a process in which we have to connect, which are connected to the system. There are many devices such as the memory device, sound cards, graphic cards, CPU, etc. So the kernel acts as an interface between the user, sorry, not the user, but the hardware and the software. So the interface to connect many devices and the system, kernel stores the data of all the devices in a specific driver, okay, so that it can be known that which device is connected, so that the kernel can recognize that the keyboard is connected or the memory card is connected, okay. The kernel knows what a device can do and how to manipulate it to bring out the best performance. Okay, it also manages communication between all the devices. The kernel has certain rules that have to be followed by all the devices. It manages the communication between all the devices, that so that the equal functionalities of all the operating system can be done very easily. So that if a device CPU is connected to the system and in the same time a memory device is connected to the system, the equal transmission of the data can be done between all the devices, and this is done by the kernel, and the topic is device management. Similarly, this is memory management. Another function that kernel has to manage is the memory management. The kernel keep tracks of used and unused memory and make sure that processors shouldn't manipulate data of each other using virtual memory address. The kernel, this is also an application of kernel. The kernel keeps track of used and unused memory. It helps, it just uh, get the data of which memory is used and which memory is unused, and make a good metric of it, so that the other devices couldn't manipulate the data by using other virtual memory addresses. The third one is process management. In the process management, kernel assigns enough time and gives priority to processes before handling CPU to other processes. It has many methods such as round robin method, FI, FICS, first come first serve, FIFS, sorry, first come first serve, and extra. It also deals with security and ownership information. So the kernel the kernel uh, allows such processes which comes first, and and depend upon the process which is used. For example, if first come first serve is used, so the first process which comes will be executed first by the system, and the whatever the execution time is present in the system, it doesn't matter, but but the process which comes first will be executed first by the system. So this is all about the process management. The fourth one and the last one is handling system call. Handling system calls means a programmer can write a query or ask the kernel to perform a task. It means that the programmer can write a query, and it can also ask the kernel to perform the task. So this is all about handling system calls. So this is system libraries. System libraries are special programs that help in accessing the kernel features. A kernel has to be triggered to perform a task, and this triggering is done by the applications. But applications must know how to place a system call because each kernel has a different set of system calls. Programmers have developed a standard library of procedures to communicate with the kernel. Each operating system supports three standards, and then these are transferred to system calls for that operating system. GNU C library, that is also known as GLIBC, is the most well-known system library for Linux operating system. The third one is system tools. Linux operating system has a set of utility tools which are usually simple commands. It is software which GNU project has written and published under their open source license, so that software is freely available to anyone. With the help of commands, you can access your files, edit and manipulate data in your directories or files, change the location of files or anything. So these contain many commands which I will talk later in this course, like mkdir to create a new directory, ls to list all the directories and files present in a particular path location, and etc etc. So this is all about the system tool. Development tools. We have created the operating system. Your operating system is running and working, but time to time it may contain some errors or it may need some update. For making such updates, we need toolchain. So what is toolchain? Toolchain is nothing more than just a libraries and additional tools which are present in that operating system by default, so that a regular updates can be done by the system itself or by the permission of the root user. Okay, the tool chain is a vital development tool used by the developers to produce a working application. And at last, the end user tools. These end user these end tools make a system unique for a user. End tools are not required for the operating system but are necessary for a user. Some examples of end tools are graphic design tools, office suites, browsers, multimedia players, etc. So these all comes under the category of end user tools. So this is all about the introduction of Linux as an operating system. In the next video, we will discuss Linux directories and other important commands. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you and have a nice day.